Now the hearing, it's day 5 of the same-sex marriage hearing underway in the Supreme Court, and the Chief Justice is listening to those arguments being made before him. And in fact, today it's been said that what constitutes of marriage, there has to be a debate, and no one is standing on prestige or value judgment. Today, the government is making its submissions and once again pleading to allow this issue to be heard by the Parliament, to be dealt with by the Parliament rather than the Supreme Court. Let's listen in.
Is recognized. It is also regulated. And then there is no absolute right to marry even today between heterosexual couples. And why I say this? A man has to be 21 years and a woman has to be 18 years, meaning thereby the law prescribes when to marry. The autonomy goes. Bigamy is prohibited, so law prescribes how many times you can marry simultaneously till your wife is or husband is alive. There are prohibitions regarding degrees of prohibited relationships, meaning thereby law regulates whom not to marry. Once the law recognizes this socio-legal institution as a marriage, you just can't walk out of that institution. Law regulates even that, on what grounds you can have judicial separation and on what ground you can have divorce. So how to separate is also a legislatively regulated provision. So coming to the privacy part, even the codified law amongst heterosexuals protect the privacy of man and a woman inside the bedroom. But there are certain provisions where there is an intrusion to privacy rights also. For example, importance is a ground for divorce. That is something very, very private and personal between the two human beings. But then, if it is a case of divorce, you will have to come out and prove it. So your privacy is breached. The substance of my submission, which I will elaborate, is that once a legislative recognition is given to a particular form of union, it comes with it several regulatory provisions. And it is only the Parliament, my lord, which can conceive of several situations which would arise in this relationship which is now recognized and can provide for its regulation. It would be impossible for the court to conceive all situations. Now, my lord, my propositions, my lord, I'll just, my lord, my lord, there are 10 propositions, my lord. My lord, the very heart of Special Marriage Act, and I'll show that, is a recognition of marriage between a conventional man and a conventional woman. Your lordships need not, Lord, write, because I have, Lord, in that page 3, my lord, I have, my lord, written them. Second, the request, my lord, and I will demonstrate, my lord, more effectively. The request ultimately is that you please rewrite to suit our situation, which can be done by the parliament. I am not, my lord, opposed to the situation or some regulation coming into place. By whom is the question? And that rewriting would not be possible this also, your lordships need not, my lord, invest, my lord, time or energy, my lord, in writing it. This rewriting is not permissible, not only on the ground that the courts would not rewrite the law or say what the law should have been, but the thing which we are now seeking to achieve, the petitioners are seeking to achieve, was consciously omitted in Special Marriage Act. That is one more reason it cannot be read into it. I'll, my lord, make that submission good. So, my lord, your lordship's exercise would be constrained, my lord, by four fundamental principles. One, the court will not change the character of the law. And the character, your lordship, will have to examine from the entire architecture of the Act. Read with all allied statutes and the history which preceded enactment of the Special Marriage Act. Second constraint would be the court cannot substitute the legislative intent which is otherwise manifest. And third, your lordships will not, my lord, read words of larger amplitude in place of words of smaller amplitude, namely, person is a word of larger amplitude in place of male and female. Next, my lord, proposition. Lord, this exercise, even if your lordships are persuaded to undertake, would necessarily have an unintended impact on the heterosexual couples, because Special Marriage Act essentially is for regulating the marriages between intra-faith heterosexual couples. Now, I'm sorry. Lord, next proposition is, your lordships would not, my lord, undertake an exercise whereby the same statute is applicable differently to one class of persons and totally differently to another class of persons, namely heterosexuals and non-heterosexuals.
Where the same statute is applicable
to different classes of
so we
persons,
use,
my lord, namely heterosexuals and non-heterosexuals.
so we use one lens for heterosexual couples and another lens for non-heterosexual couples.
Yes, my lord. And I'm grateful, my lord. I could not put it that succinctly, my lord, but that's the respectful submission. And it would be impossible for your lordships to reconcile this classification. I'll be able to show from the scheme and structure of the Special Marriage Act. Next, my lord. My lord, we are dealing with, let us understand what we are dealing with. My lord, we say LGBTQAI+. Correct, my lords? We know L stands for lesbians, G for gays, B for bisexuals, T for transgenders, Q for queers, I for intersex, A for asexual. Look, we have not tried to know what plus means. And my lord, this is going to be the core of the problem which your lordship would face if the judiciary were to take over the function of regulating the relationship after recognizing it as a socio-legal relationship. Lord, there are 72 shades or variations. That is why, my lord, what we write is plus. And please examine, my lord, how your lordships would, even if your lordships are persuaded to, my lord, kind of undertake an exercise of rewriting, my lord, deal with these varieties of situations. My lord, please allow me to place, my lord, that, my lord, at page. I'll just, my lord, give some examples to, my lord, annexure A, page 109.
Of what, Mr. Solicitor?
My lord, of my written submissions, my lord.
Just go.
Lord, my Lord Justice Paul, my Lord, has my written submission.
Yes, yes.
There are several different shades and spectrums, my Lord. It's not that we are dealing with either lesbians and gays and transgenders. We are dealing with, my Lord, it is note 1, submissions on the question that only legislature can deal with the subject matter. I'll just, my lord, give some examples. I'm not going to read all 72 categories. Lord, can I, for ready reference, my lord, give the physical copy?
No.
Which page you said, Mr. Solicitor?
Referring to
Nothing
written
of the
submission.
kind. In fact, your physical copies, please send them away back to your office.
PDF 113, my lord. I'm sorry, my lord. It was a loose ball. I forgot that I am also using a physical copy, and your lordship's continuing mandamus is being breached, my lord. Kindly pardon me, my lord. For...
The threat is that they're going to be confiscated.
Yes, my lord. I will be, my lord, on.
There are these Union of India submissions.
Submissions kahan par hai?
Let's
Volume did you say, solicitor?
Note
Volume?
1.
Note 1.
Yes.
written submissions, note 1, only the legislature can deal with the subject matter. Is that
That's
what
the
you
title, my lord.
Yes.
Unover.
Submissions on the question.
Related definitions, huh? Other related definitions.
Folder.
Opening statement.
Union of India folder.
Page
Yes.
note 1.
Page 113 is other related.
Got it.
Note 1. Only the legislature has the power.
Paul is leading us. That's very nice.
Yes.